I'm very excited for this.
I am too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, for sure. Okay, that is all set. And hello to everyone watching. Thanks for coming back. My name is Clark Huggins, creator of Reckless Deck, and we are here for another character creation live stream where we will use my system that I created for character creation called Psyche, which has 8 categories, all relating to the different facets of a character's mind, which we will use to make a character from literally nothing, out of thin air, uh, with my very, very exciting special guest this evening, Vanessa Lemen, imaginative realist painter, and superstar who did a beautiful, iconic piece for this project when it first was coming into the world. And I've loved the fact that the piece really has become so kind of synonymous with this project and what it does. And this is super, super low tech of me. I wish I had a way to actually switch over to your piece, like in some like good way. But I did make a really nice print of it so that people can actually see what piece I'm talking about. And
There she is.
yeah, there she is. She is really gorge. And if anybody is interested, you should be able to find that on a Google search really, really easily because it comes up all the time.
Yeah, I think if just Googling Psyche and my name probably. And you have that too, so thank you for that
Oh,
original.
are you kidding me? It's like one of if literally there's ever a fire, it's going to be my dog and that I grabbed.
Good to know.
So I guess your work, before we start with like the character creation aspect of this, your work is so unique and your process is so unique. I know like a little bit about it, but not a ton because I've never taken one of your workshops, which I would love to do and like plan to once things are, I keep saying like when life isn't so crazy, which doesn't we never seem to like get there.
Yeah.
But with a little bit that I know about your process, I think I had a big question about how much do you actually know going in, if anything, about like, I kind of have this in mind, or I kind of want this piece to be about this, or is it really just like, I got no idea. I'm just going to start pushing stuff around.
It depends on what I'm working on. So, when you had me do the Psyche piece, for example, there's a little bit of a knowing of what I'd like to do, have it be Psyche, and how would that look and feel. That kind of is what evolves, through mark making and all that. But the actual image itself, I mean, I have no idea how it's going to look. I don't have, like with that painting again, I didn't have like the face or the hands, the way that she's holding the hand, holding that hovering, all-knowing orb kind of thing that she's got.
And do you ever work from reference at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And with that painting, I used a reference for the hand. I actually posed my hand for that. So, and I do that
Which
a
is
lot.
not easy to do while trying to paint at the same time.
No, that's not. I photographed it and used it. But yeah, it depends on what I'm painting. So, and I know we talked about, you said something about being a figurative painter, and there's a lot of abstract painting that I do too that's non-figurative.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of that too.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you have a bunch of your work behind you to give people that see this,
Yeah.
who may not know your work, kind of like an idea of it all seems very like cohesive.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good.
Like, and not just from an art style, but almost like it's almost like world building. Like if you actually like put them all together, it actually feels like they could all like live on the same block, kind of, or like in the same like weird world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe in that. That's how we create, or it is a world that you have in your mind or in your surroundings, and a combination of those things. And that comes out, and the more that you feed yourself that by your surroundings, or what you listen to, and what you think about, and how you can shape that to what you think about, and make it so that is what comes out if you just let go and let whatever's going to come out when you paint. Just to have faith in that and trust, and start making marks, and go from there. So
do you feel like the process is always like cooperative in that way, where you're like, yes, what is coming out is what I feel like making and looking at right now? Are you ever just like making something and you're like, this is not at all what I want to say, this is like going away from me, or like this feels like this, me and it are not like really talking completely right now?
That's yes, but that is the times that you should probably pay attention to the most, because it's so much a mirror, that what you're looking at, what you're painting it, you're having this dialogue with this, empty canvas at first, and then you're starting the dialogue, and then you reply to that. So you should be paying attention to that. I was just talking about that today in a thing I was teaching earlier. I had started a painting, and it had grown in layers over the time of the class, which had been a few weeks. And by the time that it got to last week, this face came out that I wasn't really a portrait class anyway. It was kind of distraught looking. And I thought, I'm going to change that today, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about why, and I'm going to show you, how I'm going to do that. But, again, we have control over what we feed ourselves and then what comes out. So you can change the narrative and the story, just as simply as changing your painting. If you feel like, hey, I recognize that, I see, thank you, me, for telling me that, that I need to change up my attitude right now.
Thank you, subliminal
I'm going
me.
to right now by changing my painting. It's you can change it, and I do a lot, and it changes over time. I think that would be one of the most interesting things to do, is to show a painting. I have a lot of works in progress, or process kind of shots over time that I've taken of different paintings, and it's just so much to put together to do that, to show how something might evolve. But there's a couple that I think would be really interesting to see, because they really just completely changed so much over the course of when I painted it. The Psyche painting, pretty much from the beginning, I knew what I wanted to do. This figure came out in the shape of her with her headdress and everything. So and so I just kind of knew, as it didn't develop in any kind of weird way that that changed a lot from
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it's incorrect to say that it's a little bit of a surreal world? Is a surreal a word that you would use or be comfortable with?
Surreal, imaginative realism, visionary art, even dark art, sci-fi fantasy.
I saw the word. Here's something really interesting. I saw in the spying that I did on you to prepare for this. The word allegorical came up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which really struck me, because allegory usually to me is this is something that is saying something else. It's almost it's a thing that is referencing an idea, or another, this is over here, but I'm saying something about that.
Mm-hmm.
And
metaphor also, I know I've used that word a lot when people ask me about my work and how I describe it. Lots of the mark making and the abstract kinds of marks in my paintings, which are a lot, they are speaking in metaphor. They're abstract. I don't know, for lack of a better word, I'm not really a fan of saying that they're abstract, but the mark making part of it is just as much, if not more, a part of, the character in so many of my paintings, if there is a character in there. And of course,
Yeah,
if forms without, figures in there, obviously that is the more also the metaphor and the story and everything all together. So yeah, it's a story in there. It's not just, pretty surroundings.
right. And what it's got. I'm excited to get to the story part of this because it's such a rich world. But I do feel like there's a little bit of like a disclaimer or a caveat that I've never had to do before, that I feel like I really feel compelled to do this time.
Okay.
So I just bumped something on my computer. Sure, let me just blow that all up. It's not important that this actually works and gets translated to anyone else but us. Anyway, the thing that I feel like I want to say before we begin, as we like dive into your world for its kind of like narrative and story potential, is that the goal here is not to like do anything that ends up being like canon. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to figure you out or like nail it down like a butterfly with pins. I'm not trying to be like this, we're going to unpack Vanessa's work and really like get under the hood and see really what it's about. This is really just about like suggestion of a possibility or like inspired by.
Okay.
Like I because I feel like, tell me if this relates, like the idea of like sometimes you don't want to fully get rid of the monster in the closet, or like you kind
right.
of more want to manage it, but you don't want necessarily to blast it with like surgery lights because you kind of need it. You just need it to mostly stay in its corner.
Yeah, the shadow work. Definitely.
Right? Like
I mean, that's what I'm doing a lot of the time, is like excavating in a way, the shadow work, getting down into there and finding out about myself at the same time by working the way that I work. And also working on things like detachment was something I was mentioning today in my classes too. So those are things that for sure I do that. I set myself up for doing the work in my, for myself, my personal, my inner world, as well as, doing the work that I do as the art piece eventually that it turns into something, it's doing two things at once, if not more than, but.
Cool. Okay, great. Can we start? I feel like I really want to start.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, great. This is the part where I change the view, right? Oh, look who that is. This is your work as a playmat.
Yes.
The colors are not in time. No. Like, it definitely was a color translation that happened in like the playmat process. So it's not necessarily completely accurate, but for a playmat, it's still really, I think it makes an awesome playmat.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, she's like extra glowy.
she's a little bit technicolor.
Yeah.
Psyche has 8 categories, right? And each one gives you a different facet of your character's mental landscape. The first 4 categories are called the core cards. They relate to any character in fiction, regardless of the style. They could work for a Shakespeare character. It could work for a Greek tragedy character. It could work for somebody on Gilmore Girls. Like they push and pull in that way. They're universal. And then the other 4 categories are very specific to like the world or the genre. Now, the cards that I chose for tonight are all over the place in terms of genre, because I wanted them to relate more to like the world of your paintings, which seems to be this like swirling, almost like things like almost like dip in and out of it, like this kind of like,
yeah,
almost like like an ether where narrative comes in and out of.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Right on. Good. Because I was a little bit like, I don't like, I hope she doesn't like punch me the next time I see her in Reading.
Hey, it's not an easy thing to describe. And I hate saying this, but it's easy, it's the describing is the imagery. But obviously we have to know how to speak about our work. So I like that, how you described it.
So I don't know if you've ever, done this before, but I have the first category that I like to start with is called occupations, which is a stretch already for your paintings, because I don't imagine your characters as like having jobs. But
Okay.
they do probably have roles or
I do, yeah, definitely.
So I picked out a bunch for you.
Okay.
I actually picked out two more than I usually do just because I felt compelled. All right. Your first one is an acolyte or a priestess.
Okay.
Next is an arcane trickster or a chronicler or a scribe. A ballerina.
Probably not.
Okay. A weaver.
How am I going to decide? I have to decide on one.
Or an oracle or a seer.
Oh man.
Did I do good?
Do good? You mean in making this difficult?
Yeah, well, yeah. In terms of actually like things that you can relate to, 5 out of 6, not too bad.
Yeah. Not so much the ballerina, but this is gonna be hard.
What do you feel like is calling out to you? Or tell us like what looks good and why, or what looks better than what?
I love the idea of weaver because it's I've heard the term used in different ways, and the weaver is someone to me that kind of brings people together.
Oh wow, I love it. Okay.
Yeah. Seer, that's fun. Just there's a lot of stuff that you can do with that. And I have, like the Psyche painting is that she's that. Scribe is also kind of neat with that idea of the same thing with Weaver, someone who leaves even runes around for you to notice.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh wow.
So arcane trickster, that would just be fun, and that could be really dark and gritty, and how I would love to depict that just in terms of aesthetic. So
I loved it because in relation to your work, I feel like your characters seem so almost like they are like these forces of like they seem to have almost like they represent a thing, or they feel like they are a quality, and I like the idea of like, what if one of these characters actually had its own agenda, that there was like an agenda behind the agenda.
Yes.
Right, so that seems like,
Yeah.
I don't look at your characters and think like, wow, I don't trust that character at all, or like that one seems kind of shady to me, and I like the idea of like, what if there was actually like a hidden agenda going on.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Which, you asked me if we had to pick just one. Normally for this category I would say yes, but with that, the idea of a trickster, I feel like that could almost be like the card behind the card.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we could have a weaver who was a trickster, or we could have a scribe that was a trickster.
Oh my goodness.
Almost like a secret identity kind of.
I feel like the scribe could be really fun to have the trickster background, underneath kind of thing. If that was something that would be, I don't really go into trickster except for sometimes when there's themes, to a show that I'm, doing a painting for or something. Or if I'm trying to make a statement about something, but be very subtle in how I go about it, which is, how I roll with all my work. It's so the trickster could be there, but it's usually, dark, and I don't know. I don't know if trickster is the exact word, but I can see a lot to be done with that. And weaver, you're right. Either a weaver or a scribe would be best for that. Hmm.
I'm going to rearrange the cards while you mull that over.
Okay. All right. I
Yeah.
think overall, I really am drawn to the. Let's see. I'm like, wait. Maybe I don't want to make a decision yet. Probably Scribe and Trickster.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
You know what just struck me? You ever, when you talk about writing or you talk about the sort of like tense or the like what the narrator position you're going to write from as an author, whether it's like first person or third person, the idea of an unreliable narrator.
Hmm.
And I think that, when you've got someone who is a
Yeah.
chronicler or a scribe, that they're supposed to be almost like the authority on what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are writing, they're the keeper of the, okay, this is how this went down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as a trickster, the idea that the actual one whose job that
Yes.
is secretly not very dependable.
Right. Yes. I love that. I like one painting that I know from my own that I could say you could look up is Acquisition of the Sun. And that was for a show that was, the seven deadly sins. And I had greed. And I was like, okay, yeah, this will be good. I can handle this. And then when I started to do it, I was like, there's this symbols of things that are cheesy, like a bag of money kind of thing, like
Totally, right?
obviously.
And then you start with those like really obvious things that you immediately hate.
Yeah, but then you start thinking like, okay, what is greed though? I mean, what would be like the most greedy thing of all that I could be thinking of? And of course, like lots of things in politics we are, bombarded with all the time. I thought of, and I had one particular person in mind at the development of what I think would be like the extreme in greed. And I thought, well, what would they be able to acquire and hoard and not allow anyone to have the power? What's the most powerful thing that we could think of? And it was the sun. Like the person that would be
Wow.
so greedy to actually acquire the sun and save or hoard all its power for themselves would actually be killing themselves as well in the
Mhm.
process. But that's totally worth it just to have it, just to say you own it.
Totally, yes.
It's the most greedy thing, and that's like the one character that I think, as far as a trickster kind of character, is, I mean, it's blatant, but in the imagery it's not. So like I said, you could Google it and see, because it's like, ooh, this is a powerful character, and then you start thinking, what are they doing? What is that,
So now that we have them in a little bit of and like we have a little bit of they've come into focus for us a little bit in terms of their purpose. And then and for this one, we know that there's a purpose behind the purpose. The next category is motivations. Like, what do they want?
Yeah, see. Yep.
What is the thing that they are after that drives them through the narrative of their story?
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily mean that they're always like going to go right at it, but it is their sort of North Star that's going to influence their decisions on a big scale and a little scale throughout the course of like what they do.
Okay.
So here you go. To recover something that was lost, or to become a parent,
Oh God. Okay.
to find their true purpose,
Hmm.
or to cement their place in history.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh boy. Yeah, and with that duality going on of scribe and trickster.
Yeah.
Um, oh my gosh.
I have some ideas, but I want you to say stuff. I don't want to say stuff before you say stuff.
Right, like the combination of the character and what they are, and then this like cementing their place in history. It could really go in an interesting direction. Kind of on the coattails of that, what I was just talking about with the acquisition of the sun, just having cementing their place in history, whether it is a positive in a positive way or a negative way, but it's still
Right. Mm-hmm.
the purpose, which to find their purpose, their true purpose is kind of along that line too. Um, Scribe and finding purpose.
And when you think about like finding your true purpose, there, the idea of being like, I am unfulfilled. There's a hole.
Oh yeah, I understand for sure. Yes.
And I'm in it, and I hate it, and I kind of hate myself for having it. And I'm going to find out what's going to fill this hole. And I don't care what is in my way. I'm going to mow it down in order to find a way to fill this vacuum in my soul.
Yes.
Like, so the idea of finding your true purpose sounds like it could be like elevated and altruistic, but it actually could be very selfish and really nasty and very, destructive to other people around you.
Yeah. That's right there. Cat.
What's up, cat butt?
Sorry. Okay, so oh man, true. Yes. And in that way, the cementing their place in history is along those lines too. But to recover something that was lost is interesting as far as a scribe goes, and a trickster.
Yeah.
You can place something on purpose in order to like I was talking about placing runes places, and if it was a guide in some way or a way of going, a way of working, a way of being that you follow. I mean, I don't want to get into it again with what we could talk about as far as things that are written and people believe in, but that it can be misguiding also.
Yeah,
So
there could be like a whole lot of
that
misdirection of just like, hey, people, look over there while I go do this thing, or while I go grab me that, or while I go, look for the thing that I really want, and I'm gonna, have you go. I'm gonna have you chase after this other thing while I go, while your eyes are off me to go, get up to this business.
So that's hard again of just trying to.
Hopefully fun hard. Hopefully it's not just like, oh, this sucks. It should hopefully be like a fun.
No, it definitely is fun. I think I could get rid of to become a parent that I can't. I see no purpose in that. Okay. And that was a big joke, by the way. If anyone doesn't understand, sorry. Super. I didn't mean to sound like I was blowing it off like that. So then I just got silly.
Yeah, silly is silly is approved.
Sometimes my silliness is still like my delivery is not quite clear to everyone. So I just had to say that. Oh man, I think I'm really gravitating towards the recovering something that was lost.
I love it. Okay, great. All right, I don't think the next two are gonna be as like painful as these were. There will be others that will be painful, but the next two you get a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather, because the next two categories are strengths and flaws.
Okay.
And their strengths, your options are passionate, full of enthusiasm, conviction, and commitment to their profession or their cause. Fearless, devoid of fear and confident in their capability, even in the face of extreme danger. Resourceful, capable of devising creative solutions with the tools at hand. And then empathetic, can identify with the feelings of others.
Okay. Oh man, well, to recover something that was lost and empathetic is very interesting combination. I like that idea of a weirdness in that, of feeling that loss of something, feeling it, like being empathetic towards the loss and wanting to recover that way. Um, resourceful can also work, of course, for that recourse to recover.
Yeah, for a trickster, very resourceful, right? It's almost like we've got that base covered already. Kind of, it's kind of baked into being like a trickstery kind of duplicitous or secret agenda kind of character.
Right. So then, since you already have that in what a trickster is, you can go for including resourceful, because he's already resourceful.
Yeah.
Empathetic is something for me that I think I really am drawn to the most in this category.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great choice because, when we talk about a character, we haven't explored really where it is or what it is, but this character definitely seems to have a secret agenda or their own personal thing. And I love the idea that they can be open to others while still like having a want that is so huge that is really about themselves.
Yes.
And now their flaws.
Which could also be empathy.
Yes. Indecisive.
Mm.
Overwhelmed by options or possibilities. Covetous. Eagerly desirous of the success, wealth, or possessions of others.
Yeah.
Cruel. Takes pleasure in the pain and suffering of others. Or over emotional. Overcome by the extremes of their own feelings.
Well, definitely empathetic can be that. That can, like, recovering something that's lost, empathetic and over emotional. Oh my goodness. I just and Scribe. I don't think I would go for cruel at all.
Okay.
I just can't see myself painting that. I don't know.
That's such a great criteria too, to be like, yeah, I can't see myself painting that. You're the first person to say that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, there's like this integrity thing you kind of have to stick with. And I just feel like I can't paint cruelty. But I know it can be painted in different ways, obviously, that you are not the the main character of the image making, but covetous, really.
I think that over emotional is really interesting as an empathetic character, to feel like they almost get consumed by that feeling.
Yeah, same. That's what I have there.
I think that covetous is very, very appropriate, but again, a little bit almost baked in already.
Yeah.
Between trying to recover a lost thing and having this personal agenda. Indecisive is interesting as a resourceful trickster, but also not being able to make up your mind is a little bit of a train wreck.
It is, which can make for a really good story.
Yeah. I think that over emotional and indecisive both have like this real great train wreck quality to them, like this real big like almost like over the top with being overwhelmed by themselves.
Yeah. That's what I was saying about empathetic could be also a downfall. If you don't know how to own it.
All right, which one of these do we want to keep?
Over emotional.
I love it. So now we have what's called the given circumstances category, which is a quality of their existence. It's like either like a limitation or a perk. It's some condition that surrounds them that's either like about their health or physiology or about their external place in their society, right? Or whatever kind of culture that they live in. It could be about their finances. It could be about, let's put some down and I'll show you. For example, is a widow or widower.
Okay.
as a sibling or siblings.
Okay.
Is a skilled musician. Or paphophobic, which is fear of being touched.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. No, you threw that one in there because I was like kind of going for the sibling one because of the trickster part of it, that there could be like a twin or something, you know.
Oh, that's so funny that you say that. And you'll know. Yeah.
Um, but this last one, um, the fear of being touched and being empathetic is like, oh my gosh, what a
Yeah,
painful
that's
experience.
like that's such a like gnarly combination.
Yeah. Oh, so I kind of feel like I just have to figure that out, you know? As far as a character, it just feels like I'm just drawn to it is like working through that. I like the skilled musician too, because so much of Trickster can be used.
Yeah, that's true. To like influence or woo or just kind of lull people or to win people
Yeah,
over, right? There's so much
yeah, yeah.
magnetism to being able to like make music for people.
Yes, yes. Um, but I feel like I'm
Honestly,
gonna,
like there are no rules here, right? Like we just did this and said yes to that trio.
yeah, because you know you still can be like, remember we talked about that sibling thing and the Trickster.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah.
We're gonna go wild here.
Oh boy.
It's gonna be tough to fit this all on here, but I need to start writing these down. I do this every week. I get so into it that I forget to start writing things. All right. There we go. So we got three more categories, and they're very, very based in a little bit more in story and plot, less about qualities and more about like this happened, this is happening. The
Okay.
first category of that trio is secrets. So what are they hiding? What are they keeping to themselves?
Okay.
Is jealous of their beautiful sibling and
Oh boy.
concocting a plan to hurt them.
Yes. That's already gonna be a
Has spent their entire life on the run from the legendary Fey Wild Hunt.
oh my gosh. That'd be fun to draw.
Oh, totally. Still searches for their magical animal familiar who was stolen from them. Oops, you can't read that at all with that glare.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And the last one is used to set fires as a child and still has a strong urge to do so.
Oh my gosh. Um, well, the jealous of the sibling is I and empathy and you know fear of touch and all that is just strong with that one, I think.
So you said sibling, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I made a quick note for myself and I wanted to make sure I heard you right.
Mm.
Okay, that was brutal. But you seem to you really honed in on that fast. So the next one is called formative events. Okay,
Mhm.
something that happened to them in the past that had a really outsized influence on who they've become in the present.
Okay, this is gonna be good. I know it.
Was told by a witch as a child that they would rule the kingdom someday, but lose something precious in exchange.
Ah, okay.
Saw their future in a magical pool and has since spent their life trying to avoid the terrible end they foresaw.
Oh wow, I love that. That would be so fun to draw.
Was exiled after discovering the royal family or city elders were involved in black sorceries.
Okay.
As a baby, was left out of the elements to die.
Oh my god, how horrible.
And you've got one more because I couldn't not.
Oh boy. Okay. Gonna make it
Their
difficult.
twin was kidnapped at birth and raised to be their mortal enemy.
Of course.
Right? I feel like these are just lining right up.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely is like you're going for that. But again, that could already be part of the story in a way. Not that I would have necessarily thought that they were kidnapped or, but yeah. And what was the other? There was one that was, oh yeah.
So
Cool.
they got their fortune told by a witch who said they would rule the kingdom, but they would lose something precious. They were exiled after discovering their leaders, whether it's the royal family or the elders, were involved in like black magic or black sorceries. As a baby, was left out of the elements to die,
Oh,
which I feel like would really make you like looking out for yourself. Like you would definitely get
absolutely.
some survive, like willing to like gnaw your own leg off to get out of a bear trap kind of thing.
Yes.
Um,
Resourceful and just very tough.
yes, very tough. Uh-huh.
What was
So are there any of them that you're not feeling?
um what was the magical pool one again? Can you read that? I can't see
Oh
the
yeah, saw their future in a magical pool and has since spent their entire life trying to avoid the terrible end they foresaw.
I just really want to draw that or paint that. Because so I see it as this magical pool, so you can see, like I was talking about earlier about seeing your work, and if you see your reflection, the trickster could be that pool was a reflection, but it was your sister, or
Oh wow. Okay.
so there's just like the craziness of that could be so interesting. So I'm really drawn to that one actually the most out of.
Oh, all right, neat. Because the thing about seeing the future, right, and just like we talked about the idea of being left out of the elements could make you like really tough
Yeah.
and like have a high pain threshold. Seeing the future and having it be horrible and trying to like really sway the course of events can
Yes.
really twist you into something that you never like set out to be in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that question of, if you were given some crazy amount of money, let's say millions of dollars, or you could go back to your younger self, like say age 20, which one would you rather have? At my age now, I would say go back to like if you knew what you know now, but could go back to age 20, I would take that over the money. I just think that would be really great to go back and know that. So that kind of was along the same lines to me is the taking with you that what you've built up from that experience of your life and making something of it and sharing that with others. So
I think that as long as you get to keep what you know, because I would hate to go back to being 20 and then just have to
oh
do it
yeah,
all over
that's the
again.
part of the way that question worked. It was not just that it was
Thank
to go back to
God.
being 20. I don't want to reenact a lot of the things that I did for many years of my life.
I don't even
So
want to talk about them. Are you kidding
yeah,
me?
exactly. No, but if I could go back with what I know, I think it would be different. I would be so different. So yeah.
Now, one last category, and that is inciting incidents. This category is meant to be like this just happened. All right. This is like the instigator event that sets our character on the journey of their story.
Okay.
Okay. This takes them from being like in whatever sort of like status quo that they exist in to suddenly like, okay, now I am in motion.
Okay.
Um, Encounters a beautiful enchantress as she is bathing in a secluded pool in the forest. Instead of the expected boon of plenty, a holy relic they requested to retrieve unleashes a cursed plague upon the land.
Oops. Excuse me.
A society of gargoyles has revealed themselves and is demanding settlement on a debt.
Okay.
Present, when a massive astronomical device in the center of the city that hasn't worked in centuries suddenly rumbles to life. And I have one more for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Has encountered a fabled tribe of women barbarians deep in the unexplored wilds.
That's fun.
Now, too, I feel like your visual
First
world,
one.
is very tipped very heavily female. Like it almost feels like it's like almost like a mythological all-girl school kind of.
No, I mean, I think that I used to think that my work was pretty androgynous until I had to paint androgynous people, and then I realized it's very feminine. But there still is to me the acceptance of kind of all and not maybe one or the other. I think like breaking the stereotypes, breaking the cycles of things. So characters can be either or. I think you could look at a character and think they're female, but they may not be. And I think that it can be left open that way. But I think with the cards here, I still am drawn to this like female. Well, there's the one, the barbarians that just had a good ring to it as far as that just imagery popping into my mind from.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
But I do feel like the encountering the beautiful enchantress, she's bathing in a secluded pool. It just goes so well with the rest of what we've already been kind of coming up with.
Okay.
Yeah. So probably just go with that one.
I'm going to leave the barbarian. I feel like the barbarians, we may not be done with that. I don't know. I just have this vibe. They're going to hang out.
Right.
They're going to hang out to the side. So now I'm going to switch back over to, now we're going to go to the board.
Okay.
And I'm busy transcribing all of the craziness. Right? Did those. Jealous of the sibling. And plans to hurt them.
This is going to be interesting.
Terrible future. Terrible future we want to change. There's a lot of this is super active already. Like this person's got like a laundry list of stuff that they are trying to do, which is wild. And then we have, did I get it all? I think so. We've got the beautiful enchantress. And we don't know really how that plays out. That could be good or bad.
Yep. Could be a trickster.
And the reason why I say the barbarians, my light is wonky. Something happened here. I'm just going to quickly try to turn this on because I feel like things went dark. Is that too much? Who cares? It's not about me. So now that we have all of this, we know, remember we said the idea of the trickster has an agenda?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like this is that agenda, right? Changing the terrible future that they foresaw for themselves is their like mission behind the mission. Like this is the thing that they keep to themselves, that they know about, that they are like out to cover something lost. The recovery of something lost could be the future they had in their head. You know, like what they had in mind for themselves before they found this out.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be,
An object,
yeah,
right?
right.
Or it could be something that will negate this. It could be an object that will, if I only had that, this wouldn't happen. I mean, how many times in our lives do we say that? I say that like every day. Well, if only I had this bullshit wouldn't be happening right now. Or, you know, like that idea of constantly like after that thing that's just like, oh, only I had that thing, or if only things were this way.
Right.
Then all of this stuff wouldn't be happening right now, or wouldn't be affecting me or touching me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That could be fun just in itself right there.
And so we've got a really awesome cast of characters as well. Like we've got the sister, right? We've got a sibling. I'm assuming sister, right? It just said sibling. Am I wrong to assume that we're talking about potentially a female protagonist, or do you have a different idea?
I feel like we were, because there's the enchantress, and that could overlap as one of the sisters, the enchantress at the pool.
Oh, so the enchantress is the sister, you think?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's so cool. Right on. The enchantress is the sister. All right. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's where my head went right away.
I love that. Okay.
Was in there.
This is your story. So what I think is way less important, but I sort of like saw the enchantress as like the jumping off point. Like, oh, hey, you can hook me up with like a special something that is going to help me get where I want to go. Like, I want to whammy my sister. Maybe this enchantress was like, okay, yeah, do that for me, but I'll do that for you. But for me, you got to go blah, 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 barbarians. Or like some way, like I felt like we could have both, like the enchantress.
That's awesome. Okay. But also, we don't know the psychology behind the sisters either, so maybe they are.
I mean, it doesn't sound good. It sounds like
I'm saying like they also could have different personas in themselves, and so yeah, the enchantress could be the sister, but she could also be a trickster, that she is pretending she's an enchantress, but she's the sister.
So we've got like, our protagonist is a trickster, is what you're saying, right? We know that they have their own agenda. They see the sibling almost as like a mark or a target, right? Someone that they are jealous of. Clearly a lot to be jealous of. We know she's beautiful. We know she's an enchantress. She's got a lot of like superlatives going on for her in her like high school yearbook.
Yeah.
But I feel like our character sees her as like a target. And what you're saying is possibly the sibling has her own tricksterness, like up her own sleeve.
Well, they're twins, and yeah, they could have similar personalities. I think that's also the I mean, not that they would have similar personalities because they're twins, but similar in the way that if they're tricksters, if they're both like, I love this twist because you never know really who's on the up and up, and neither one of them.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. And the fact that if they're siblings or twins and they look alike, there's that too, of never knowing which one is which. And
so it's like almost like a even stabbier, nastier Parent Trap kind of.
I don't know much about Parent Trap, but
you don't remember Parent Trap?
No.
I totally remember that as a kid. Not the remake of it, but the actual original one.
Yeah.
Both tricky. So do you think that it's correct in that possibly our protagonist sister, in wanting to get the better of her enchantress sister, needs something, needs a power up, or needs a ace in some way? Yeah. Or do you think that she's got everything she needs to pull her like mean trick, or her like to get the better of her sister, or to get her sister off the chessboard, kind of?
Oh man, I mean, they already do have a pretty convoluted. I feel like there's enough. I don't know what a power up would be, though. I mean, if you have ideas or suggestions of that.
Well, I was, and I'm not trying to put that on you. I'm just suggesting that in terms of not having I'm trying to put the protagonist on a little bit of a journey.
Okay, yeah.
Where they have to like acquire either a thing or a skill or a special whammy of some kind that is going to, because it sounds like these two are really locked in like a power struggle, almost like that their relationship is very that they're equally matched almost, or possibly that the other sister, the enchantress sister, is a little bit above in status or ability, but that there is this constant struggle to come out on top,
right?
In that very toxic kind of sibling dynamic.
Yeah.
And that maybe our protagonist is a little bit like, oh, I'm gonna go get that little extra something that I'm gonna be able to pull out, and then things are gonna really go my way, or I'm gonna get the better of the situation once and for all.
Yeah. I mean, for me, whenever when you're talking about this, and I'm just hearing this all and thinking about it with sisters, and talking about the assumption of something like, if they're twins, they look alike, and how can you tell them apart, and that they have these similar personalities and things like that. And I think that sometimes people, when I have like multiple characters in my paintings, and they seem to have like one body, or maybe a ghosted body or hands around, in a lot of the characters that I paint, they're actually just, I mean, if I again say that these are in a way self-portraits, they're like different sides of myself that I am, coming to terms with, or meeting for the first time, and getting to know better. Or so I feel like that's the twist in a way, is that we never know, but this could be the protagonist herself is all of it, but like, is that other character too?
Oh my god, that's so good.
So she's really just battling with herself, and really, like, when I say that out loud, I'm like, okay, hello, thank you very much for that. So
I feel like that would be a discovery that she would have to go on a long and painful journey to find that out.
Yeah, but so worth it, right?
What's that?
It's so worth it, though, right?
So worth it, but I feel like there would have to be almost in like a Hamlet kind of way, where like Hamlet is like, should I do this? I don't know. Like all this like 4 acts of hemming and hawing. There's like a bloodbath at the end.
Yeah.
And then it's, like Hamlet goes out and like he's just like, okay, I just gotta have this one little fencing match, and it's all gonna be different. And then it all goes to shit. Yeah. And had I just done it like in Act 1, none of that stuff would have happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like the idea of her trying to outdo or like 86 her sister in some way takes her on this long, crawling through broken glass kind of journey, where maybe she sacrifices a lot of her own self in order to get this, like, I still feel like the barbarians could be in here as like, oh, I'm going to go to the barbarians and they're going to help me with that thing.
Yeah, true.
Maybe I'm just like making this too much about chasing down a thing or
Yeah,
making it.
because I mean, even when I talk about the thing, I mean, I keep thinking of Fisher King. You know that movie?
I remember that movie. I haven't seen it in so
And
long.
I don't know why when I haven't either, but I like that movie a lot. It's a great movie, but it's this, they're going for the Holy Grail, and
Uh,
there's but I don't obviously I'm sure if people haven't seen the movie or whatever that are watching this, then it's a great movie, see it, and I probably need to stop there. But it's such an interesting and very difficult journey that all of those main characters are on to come to terms with the turning of events that cause them to like run into each other again and have to grapple with the reality of how that came to be. So then to have this thing that you look forward to, that you're on this constant mission for, and once you get that, it will help everything else, but then you realize, obviously, through the journey they meet each other, and they go through all the pain and the difficulty of it, and then that was the reward. So again, something that was lost isn't necessarily an actual thing, but in the end, there's that reward of finding themselves in and finding connection in a really strange way. Yeah, hopefully that all made sense.
yes, I think it really does. I think it really, whether there is an actual, MacGuffin, which, it's funny, the idea of, I was working with a screenwriter last week named Patrick Hale, who's like, yeah, I don't want, it to be about like going down to chase down the thing. I love the thing. I love the chase down, that Raiders of the Lost Ark thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to get the piece. I'm going to put it on the staff at a certain time of day. I'm going to shine it. It's going to tell me where to go find the next thing. I love that. I could do stories like that. I could like read that and eat that like all day long. But I love the idea of that turning out to be a little bit of a red herring or a false choice.
Yeah.
Or like the idea, there's so much covetousness in this, right?
Yeah, which was one card too.
I know, but it's just kind of leaking out, right? The idea of, I want what she's got. I want that status. I want to be that beautiful. I want to be the enchantress who looks all sexy, like in her bathing in her pool or whatever. Like, I am sick of you overshadowing me and you're going down.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's not how I see it at all.
Oh, well, good. Okay. Well, don't let me, this should be about, you and your thing. So you tell me how you think you see it.
Well, I see it as more of a psychological thing, and a grappling with oneself overall, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. To put it in that really kind of, I feel like that's done so much too with the kind of covetousness, like you said. We see it so much in everything, in like drama, like in movies and stuff like that too. So, but how I would do it, if it was a part of it, I'd want to think about it differently, not so straightforward in the sister part of it. Because it's kind of common, I feel like, as far as a story that's sisters. I have a sister and we don't fit into that category, but I know, like, growing up, we had friends who were sisters who just had that whole dynamic of being, combating all the time. And I guess maybe it's because I'm not familiar with it. I'm feeling like, I don't know if I would depict that very well myself. It would be a challenge for me that I would have to do and figure it out.
Okay.
But I do like the inner workings, that like actually thinking about this more in a spiritual sort of psychological mix up, like the yellow wallpaper, you know, that story.
No, tell me.
Well, shoot. Well, just I don't want to, it's a very short story and I don't want to give it away because it's so beautiful and I know I'm going to not do it justice in describing. But it is this journey of this person who is locked away in her own mind, and goes crazy and writes about it. And I mean that the book is the telling of that story. And the yellow wallpaper, she's been tearing at the wallpaper inside that room that she's in. But it's really about herself, about, and also the relationship with others in the story, and the overcoming of that. So I guess I just really drawn to that kind of story, and that's where I see it with that, where it's not a standard kind of sisters thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know much about twins, you know, and the psychology of that too, but it is interesting to me. I'm drawn to it. Yeah.
So, do you feel like how, I mean, maybe my understanding of it, or what I was hearing, was a little bit too, there was like too much, too much aggression, maybe too much, I don't want to say conflict, because we know that there's conflict, but maybe it was too like, about like a physical result.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. But there is a sense of inadequacy. Would you say that that's correct? Like if we've got this enchantress sister,
Mm-hmm.
there is there still a sense of like inadequacy when she looks at that sister or compares herself to that sister or in that relationship, a sense of feeling not enough or not as special?
Maybe not so much that as much as the wanting to be it.
Okay, all right.
Which is similar but not. And at least I see it different.
Yes. Wanting to be it. What a great way to put it.
The reason that I say that too is, again, going back to the idea of, you know, whether this is all one person and this is this inside their mind, it's two different people. So for me, the wanting to be that is the seeing yourself from outside of yourself, which is something we have a really hard time doing, you know, to not see ourselves for who we are. It's hard. I mean, we can't, you know, physically can't ever. And so to want to be that thing that you see, you think that you're not it, but others may actually see you that way.
And we've already, you know, like early on discussed how over emotional our character is,
Yeah.
how like sort of overwhelmed by their own feelings they are. And I feel like they don't have objectivity about themselves at all.
Yeah.
And we still have this element of like the terrible future that has been foretold for them. And maybe the sister really represents like, oh, you don't have a terrible future. Like I've seen my future and it's awful. And yours, as far as I know, is free and clear. So there's still that sense of like wanting to be it, you know, like I'd love to not have my problems, and I'd like to trade my problems with your problems because they can't nearly be as bad.
Yeah, I feel like that is everyone.
That is everyone, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel like she still goes on a journey that is actually like literal, that is actually like, I'm going to go out and find a thing that is going to give me more, that's going to make me more, or some key to this all that is going to help me be enough in the situation?
Could be. I mean, there's a pool, there's you know, there are some physical things that we have in the story. that we
Yeah,
can.
we've got some great things, right? And I didn't realize we've got the sister enchantress bathing in a pool,
Yeah.
right? And we've got a sort of like a pool that she sees her future in.
Yeah, and I think the pool was in a forest. So just as far as like traveling for something, like searching for something or traveling somewhere, having those kind of attributes in the story.
So it sounds like what you're saying is there's so much good stuff right here at home that we don't necessarily need to go on a trip, like a physical trip, because the locations that we've got are intriguing.
Well, I mean, yes, but those could have been, not in their usual location. Maybe they travel to get to those places.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
So I think we have what we need. I think we did what we set out to do.
Okay.
Right? So we've got a really, really like delicious relationship between the two sisters. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you've very much been really clear that there is a lot of nuance to that mm-hmm. It's not just like a one-note antagonism or one-note like jealousy, that there is almost like love and distrust and envy, but also more love. Like there is,
all those human qualities, really, just we all have them in some way or another. I think that's the nuance part of it, is more that there could be, this isn't two people but one, and the not seeing themselves, seeing this reflection as someone else when actually it's themselves. So the nuance, all those different things that you're mentioning is just, all a part of it for sure. It would have to be, it's not a pitting against each other or that kind of thing and that kind of story. It's really just how we operate, and how we move through things. So, yeah.
And then there is, you had the idea that our scribe Trickster goes and tries to find something that makes her more than she is, some external thing that's gonna like make her more or fill her up. And we talked about the idea that there could be some damage that's done to mm-hmm. like others and her surroundings along that journey. That we talked really early on about like in recovering something lost, that you can like make a big mess. Like on your mission to recover the lost thing, you could do a lot of damage to other people and things that are in your way.
Yeah.
So it sounds like maybe she does do that. Sounds like there's a lot of like beautiful water stuff going on between the pool with the
I love that. That's very
the future, the bathing, so right? And this whole, and you have probably your own paintings happening in your head right now about this, but like the beautiful enchantress sister bathing in the pool just sounds so like vulnerable and so intimate and so like mythological in that way, mm-hmm. that your work is so like great at capturing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But like I could absolutely see that happening in your world.
I can see it too. Yeah.
And so whether or not she goes to the barbarians is still a question that I will leave to you. Whether or not the thing that she is after turns out to have the value that she hopes that it would, or if it turns out to be sort of like an empty promise.
Okay. Oh, man.
And I'm very curious in your version of this, when we finally get to like the third act, when there is like a facing of the two sisters, like when she comes back from her kind of journey, whether she feels like she found the thing that she wanted to find or not, and she has to face her sister and possibly do the hurtful thing or make the change to her future, use the thing that she went out to find, whether like how that goes down and how much of a like how much damage happens, if any, before there's the realization that it is actually all like that she is all of it.
Yep. Oh
But
man.
it's such a cool question.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah.
Do you like this?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Or
there's
right
a
on.
lot. I
Do you
mean,
feel like do
it's
you feel
a
like
it's
you're
a
missing anything for you?
it's many chapters, you know, it's
It's
many
many
images.
chapters. That's totally what we set out to do. But I
Yeah.
feel like obviously we haven't answered any question. I mean, we haven't answered all the questions. We've really just created a lot of questions. But I
Yeah.
think it has a flow, right? We kind of like know
Yeah.
what the journey is with what we sort of know what the um like what kind of a conclusion we're leading up to, how it plays out. We don't know that yet.
Well, I mean, and you know, I guess is it usually figured out by now for you?
No, not at all. This
Okay,
is
okay.
usually this is where we want to be. This
Okay. Great.
basically is like a big, like almost like a skeleton or an armature,
Yeah. Yeah.
where
Yeah,
you
definitely.
now
Lots to
have
work with.
lots of stuff that you
Mhm.
can like hang more on top of and build and
Yeah.
like fill
Yeah.
in. Almost like a sketch, really.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Lots to work with. Like I said, with being you know, several chapters, like a body of work, even for
That's so cool. You are and I love that it doesn't sound like you have the intention to actually like write this like a novel. It sounds like you would actually work this out in a series of images or paintings.
oh yeah, yep. That's how I was always thinking of it. So yeah.
That is gorgeous. That's amazing.
Uh yeah. It's just the way that I work probably first, most. I don't know if I can say best or not, but yeah, that's
It's such a like different it's such a different like end result. It's such a different road or process to go on for like a completely different way to bring it into the world. I think it's really cool to envision that, and I can't see what
is
you're
it
seeing.
different? I mean, you would be writing it obviously, but that's your thing. You write, right?
Well, I do that, and I also I paint as well. It's just
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
that's the
true too.
weird thing about me is that I just like have always been in
Yeah.
both of these worlds.
So
And
when you would do an image or images, would you write about it first and do a lot of thought bubbles and different things like that to get it, the character, the story?
probably not. Like I feel like when I do, and if I were to do this as like images or a series of images, there'd be a lot of things I would not want to know the answers to. Like I would
Yeah.
not want to necessarily, I would put things in there that'd be like, I don't know why that's in there. It kind of weirds me out. And I
Yeah.
don't want to look too closely at it because I don't want to unpack it and figure it out. I just want it to weird me out.
Yeah. Love it. That's how I am too. And it could change, you know. It could change in the if I have like that's the way why I was saying having it be several a body of work because you know you could say okay that could change but that could be another aspect of the story that I would make into another image, not
That's
that
so cool.
always.
So like if you're like, oh, I didn't capture that part of it, I'm gonna go make a different painting about that.
Yeah, and I think excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. um Doing the image it's like this is my pumpkin, my carriage turning into a pumpkin. It's like how many hours have we been talking?
I only like an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I promise that this will be the part where I usually want to let you go, so you don't have to power through as a pumpkin.
Oh no, it's good. I'm just letting you know that's for some reason what happens with me. Um, so what were we saying? The having the body of work and changing it. I definitely change things in an image, you know, as I'm working on the image. But you know, I can just, you know, completely change an image I've been working on for a while. So I do that, but I like to have that option of having other images in a body of work and having that be an aspect of the story. and doing work for things like books where you have several illustrations in one
Oh,
book
sure. Okay.
really gives you, that idea or way of working that feels right to extend the story out and give it, room to breathe each image, instead of trying to pack everything in one.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. Because one piece can't be everything,
Yeah. I
you
mean, it
have to like,
can, but yeah. And then it's really about simplifying and what's important, as far as, and I love all the underlying things in this because it could be these layers that are peeling away to, the core of the story. And that would be in one image. Definitely, again, how I paint already with
I'm
those.
very psyched to see that this has given you some like cool stuff to work with.
Yeah, it has. It's been fun. I can
So
definitely utilize it.
before we conclude, do you want to tell people where they can find you and your work? What's the best place for them to find your stuff or to contact you?
Uh, Probably the most commonly posting right now, or most frequently, sorry, posting is on Instagram.
Okay.
My name, Vanessa Lemen, Lemen.
Awesome.
And
Anyone watching this, go follow Vanessa on Instagram because her Instagram is awesome. I love following your work. Comes up all the time. Instagram gets that I'm into what you're posting because I see everything that you post.
well, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Also, anyone watching, this has been Reckless Deck Psyche, the card deck series for your character's mind. You can pre-order it right now. It should be out later this fall on recklessdeck.com. It's been a real journey, Vanessa, getting this project actually out into the world. I think that I'm finally like there.
All right. Well, congrats with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time and for doing this. This has been so fun. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk again soon, okay?
Okay.